Hello students, today we are covering lesson 10.2 on probability. Please follow along in your textbook on page 408. Our key idea is probability and it can be found on page 408. Now for this key idea, all I'm asking is you write down the title and the page number so you know where to reference it. The probability of an event is a number that measures the likelihood that the event will occur. Probabilities are between 0 and 1 on the number line, and they include 0 and 1. The diagram below relates the likelihoods, and the likelihoods are shown here above, and the probabilities are the numbers, and those are shown below. I would like you to write down and copy this probability diagram. So I'd like you to draw a number line between 0 and 1. If something cannot happen, we call it impossible. So there's a 0 chance it will happen. So I'd like you to show the top number as a fraction, the middle number here as a decimal, and the bottom number as a percent. So if something is impossible, it has a 0 chance of happening. So if we had the fraction like 0 out of 4, for example, if I had 4 marbles that were blue, it would be impossible for me to reach in the bag of 4 marbles and get a red. So we would have 0 out of 4 chance, or 0.0, or 0%. If something is unlikely, you have a small chance of getting it. For example, if one of the marbles was red and the rest were blue, that would be a 1 out of 4 chance. 0.25 is the decimal, or 25%. Now, if half of the marbles were red and the other half were blue, I'd have a 1 out of 2 chance, or 2 out of 4, which reduces to 1/2. That's 0.5 or 50%. We call this equally likely to happen as to not happen. Now, as we move more to the right, our chances are getting better. Something is likely to happen if I have a 3 out of 4 chance. 3 out of 4 is 0.75, which is a 75% chance. And when we get to the far right, we have certain. And if something is certain, for example, if I had a bag of 4 red marbles, the probability of me getting a red would be 4 out of 4, which reduces to 1 whole chance. So we write 1, 1.0, or 100%. Now, if you notice, there are ranges. Impossible is only at 0. But if you go somewhere in the middle, let's say between 1 and maybe 30 to 40%, then it becomes unlikely. Equally likely is when you're at 50%. Likely is a range somewhere between maybe 60 and 90%. Now, you only have certain if you reach 100%. You cannot have something certain if it's 99% because there's still a 1% chance it may not happen. Okay, moving on. Example 1 is describing the likelihood of an event on page 408. So there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. We need to describe the likelihood of the event. So I'm going to go back to our diagram that we just drew, and I'm looking for 80%. Now, I don't see 80% here. I see only increments of 25%, but I see 80% is close to 75, but not quite 100% yet. So I would say the chance of thunderstorms would be likely. When it asks me to describe the likelihood, I look at the top vocabulary words here. So I would say the chance is likely to occur because it's not quite certain, but it's more than half. So you can just write likely. Now I'd like you to try on your own numbers 1 and 2. Go ahead and refer back to the diagram and tell me how likely, the likelihood that the event will occur. Now the key idea is found on page 408 on the bottom. All you need to do is write down this title, Finding the Probability of an Event. Also write down the page number so you know where to reference it. If you want to find the probability, it says when all possible outcomes are equally likely, the probability of an event is the ratio of the number of favorable outcomes to the number of possible outcomes. The probability of an event is written as P, which stands for probability, parentheses, and then the event in parentheses. What I would like you to copy down is what's inside this box. The probability of an event is the ratio of the number of favorable outcomes as the numerator to the number of possible outcomes, which is your denominator. So take a moment, pause, and copy this down. I'd like you to put a box around it when you're done so you can reference it very quickly. Example 2 is finding a probability, page 409. You roll a number cube. What is the probability of rolling an odd number? Well, let's think about this. The odd numbers on this cube would be the numbers 1, 3, and 5. Since it goes up to 6, we don't count any numbers beyond that. So this time, referring back to our ratio here, the probability of the event is now that we're looking for an odd number. That's our favorable outcome. So the number of favorable outcomes is 1, 2, 3 favorable outcomes. The number of possible outcomes is how many numbers are on the cube, and there's a total of 6 numbers on the cube. So the probability of getting an odd is a 3 out of 6 chance. Do not forget to simplify, which reduces to 1/2. So I have a 1/2 chance of getting an odd. Now, if I wanted to describe the likelihood, I would say it is equally likely to happen as to not happen. So you can just describe it as equally likely. Example 3 is using a probability, page 409. The probability that you randomly draw a short straw from a group of 40 straws is a 3 out of 20 chance. How many are short straws? So again, referring to our probability ratio that we have in this box, the event that we're looking for is a short straw. Now, the question is asking us to find how many short straws are there. So we don't know the number of short straws, so I'm going to call that X. But I do know the total number of straws. It says the group of 40 straws, which would be your total. Now, think of it as a proportion. We know the probability. It says the probability is 3 over 20. So the probability is actually given to us. They tell us the ratio is a 3 out of 20 chance. We just need to figure out how many straws will be short. So I want you to think of this as looking for a common multiplier. 20 times what number makes 40? So think about that for a moment. Hopefully you found 20 times 2 equals 40. And so to keep this fraction equivalent, you also multiply the top by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So X equals 6 straws. So there are 6 short straws. Okay. Now I'd like you to try on your own 3 through 5. Looking back at example 2 for number 3 and 4. Explain the probability, show me as a fraction, then also it's a good idea to describe the likelihood. Number 5, refer back to example 3. It's very similar. They tell you the total group. They give you the probability. You have to find the short straws. I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.